operating room. She put only one glass on it, which was for me. She explained that O'Hare could not drink the hard stuff since the war. So we sat down. O'Hare was embarrassed, but he wouldn't tell me what was wrong. I couldn't imagine what it was about me that would burn Mary up so. I was a family man. I had only been married once. I wasn't a drunk. I hadn't done her husband any dirt in the war. She fixed herself a Coca-Cola and made a lot of noise banging the ice cube tray in the stainless steel sink. Then she went to another part of the house, but she wouldn't sit still. She was moving all over the house, opening and shutting doors, even moving furniture around to work off her anger. I asked O'Hare what I'd done or said to make her act that way. "It's all right," he said. "Don't worry about it. It doesn't have anything to do with you." That was kind of him. He was lying. It had everything to do with me. So we tried to ignore Mary and remember the war. I took a couple of belts of the booze I'd brought. We would chuckle or grin sometimes as though war stories were coming back, but neither one of us could remember anything good. O'Hare remembered one guy got into a lot of wine in Dresden before it was bombed, and we had to take him home in a wheelbarrow. It wasn't much to write a book about. I remembered 2 Russian soldiers who had looted a clock factory. They had a horse-drawn wagon full of clocks. They were happy and drunk. They were smoking huge cigarettes they had rolled in newspaper. That was about it for memories, and Mary was still making noise. She finally came out of the kitchen for another Coke. She took another tray of ice cubes from the refrigerator, banged it in the sink even though there was already plenty of ice out. Then she turned to me, let me see how angry she was, and that the anger was for me. She had been talking to herself, so what she said was a fragment of a much larger conversation. "You were just babies then," she said. "What?" I said. "You were just babies in the war, like the ones upstairs." I nodded that this was true. We had been foolish virgins in the war, right at the end of childhood. "But you're not going to write it that way, are you?" This wasn't a question. It was an accusation. I don't know," I said. "Well, I know," she said. "You'll pretend you were men instead of babies, and you'll be played in the movies by Frank Sinatra and John Wayne or some of those other glamorous, war-loving, dirty old men. And the war will look just wonderful, and you'll have a lot more of them, and they'll all be fought like babies, like the babies upstairs." So then I understood. It was the war that made her so angry. She didn't want her babies or anyone else's babies killed in wars, and she thought wars were partly encouraged by books and movies. So I held up my right hand, and I made her a promise. "Mary," I said, "I don't think this book of mine is ever going to be finished. I must have written 5,000 pages by now, and have thrown them all away. But if I ever do finish it, I give you my word of honor. There won't be a part for Frank Sinatra or John Wayne. I'll tell you what," I said. "I'll call it the Children's Crusade." And she was my friend after that.